Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and yesterday, if you were watching the channel or just on the internet, there was a story out there that in the Netherlands, a girl of 17 had been legally euthanized by the state. Now, out of the gates, I want to say I got a lot of response on that video. Some people saying that, I'm surprised you're not for this. It's victimless. We discussed how the Netherlands had passed a law that basically children under the age of 18 could be legally euthanized in 2014. All of that was real. And that actually, according to their records in 2017, 4.4% of the population actually decided to go out that way. Now, we also featured some of these quote-unquote machines and their sleek robotic looks. However, in this case, it doesn't seem to be that the government allowed this, although there's some gray area here. I want to say that. Now, originally, the article that was out there, of course, was in Dutch. So, I'll be honest, let's hit the translation right now. Let's do it here. Okay, and it does say euthanize here, but apparently the government denied it. Okay, let's see. Can we translate this to English? Yep, and there you go. And apparently, again, they deny this thing, and a lot of people told me, hey man, this was like a big media sensation out in the UK, and if you go all the way up to the top, there's a video. If you see the thumb, there's a book. But Naomi O'Leary, who contacted the original author of this, basically says it's not that case, that she was taken off a feeding tube. She had basically starved herself to death in hospital, which is, I mean, it's extremely worrying and grotesque that you would allow that to get that point with, depression, PTSD. And listen, again, I want to reiterate here that I'm not trying to marginalize what happened to her when she was 11 and 14, according to the reports. That's not what this is about. But there's a lot to talk about because Euronews, Independent, I got it from the Daily Mail, the Daily Beast. There was a lot more out there than just that all reported this same thing. And it really did bring a conversation in whether the state should step in. Now, on the other hand, they denied her this. How did they not step in when they were taking her off a feeding tube when she wasn't really physically ill beyond the point of not feeding herself and basically trying to commit suicide that way? So we're going to read through this Twitter thread. And by the way, I also want people to realize before I do this, let's talk a little bit here. It's okay to be wrong. That's right. It's okay to be wrong. If you come out and you say, hey, I made a mistake. It was misreported. I misreported it as well. Let's clear it up. We're human beings. We make mistakes. And it really bothers me when people gravitate towards those that pretend they have all the answers, that they're never wrong, that they actually believe this or they spin it one way. Look, let's be honest. If you believe in some kind of a deity, we are not that. And you know why we are not that? Because we make mistakes. Human error is a very real thing. None of us are perfect. I say that all the time. I can improve on myself tenfold. I'm trying to. At the same time, I'm still going to make mistakes along the way. And we all are. So here we are. And we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what actually happened with this girl. So, as you can see, was not euthanized, and everybody got it wrong. She says in 10 minutes, she wrote the reporter and got the actual story. Now, Noah Potovin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, again, it was a big media deal. People contacted me in that area and said, listen, this was on the news for a couple years, which, again, makes me believe that this is out in the public arena to have that debate. Can we euthanize children? How low can we go? I stand by that. All right? So here we go. Infuriatingly, it's too late. This misinformation has already spread over the world from Australia to the United States to India. Her name, Noah Potovin, is even trending in Italy. I spoke to Paul Bulwark, a reporter who has been covering the story for De Gelderlander since 2018. Noah Potovin has been severely ill with anorexia and other conditions for some time. So again, she's forcing herself not to eat. And we know that, listen, that takes people's lives in this country, not just models, but people do have that sickness. It's very, very scary. And, maybe there's not always a cure for that. But to euthanize someone who's under 18, this is a kid, man. How are you giving up on your kid? I just don't care. I don't find any instance, no matter how traumatic the experience, for one of my loved ones that I'm going to give up on them. I just don't get it. And maybe I'm kooky, maybe I'm idealistic, but this whole thing really still bothers me. Without telling her parents, she sought and was refused euthanasia. All right, so she did go for it with the state. They said no. That's a good thing. That's a positive thing. That's something that we should be reporting on and saying, all right, well, at least they're not ruling on PTSD and depression to take your own life, because I think that's just insane. The family had tried many kinds of psychiatric treatment, and Noah Petovin was repeatedly hospitalized. She made a series of attempts to kill herself in recent months. In depression, the family sought electroshock therapy. Again, why would you do that? Electroshock therapy. I mean, literal MK Ultra shit. If you want to watch my MK Ultra videos, they're out there. Please, right now, if you're watching for the first time, you're interested in this stuff, you like somebody that can actually admit when he makes a mistake, subscribe now, share this on social media, thumbs it up, ring that bell. MK Ultra and their electroshock therapy is kind of coming back. We reported over at, I believe it was the News for a Change channel, the secondary channel for We Are Change, that they actually have a device that gives small electro impulses to your children, preteens. And they were talking about it as ADHD. All right? It's very scary stuff. And that's how you try to treat this girl. Let me tell you something. People do things all the time in uncomfortable situations when they don't want to. For instance, look at boot camp. They make soldiers out of people that you would not expect. Not everybody makes it through, but why not give something like a boot camp a try? Getting somebody up, focusing on exercise. I mean, your physical health matters a lot with your mental health, okay? I'll tell you what, a couple months ago it's now more than a couple months ago, probably, right around the beginning of the new year. Yeah, I guess it's like 5-6 months ago. My back was out. I had pain. I was like, oh my God, I was much more overweight than I am now. I'm working on it. But I feel 10 times better, going out, working out, dropping the pounds, getting up earlier, forcing myself to do things, get on a regimen. And by doing that, you really do start clearing up your mental health. Now, I don't have the trauma of this girl, but electroshock therapy would have been like the last thing I thought about. So, if you're just tuning in, remember this girl applied for euthanasia, did not get it, and it has been misreported according to this, okay? So after electroshock therapy was refused, as it should have been, by the way, Petovin insisted she wanted to further treatment and hospital bed was set up at home in the care of her parents. So again, in her home, in the care of her parents, this girl was allowed to just rot away. At the start of June, she began refusing all fluids and food, and her parents and doctors agreed not to force feed her. A decision to move her to palliative care and not to force feed her at the request of her parents is not euthanasia. It's still absolutely disturbing. It's still absolutely disgusting. The one bright side of this is that the state did not get involved and set the precedent that somebody of 17 years of age can decide to end their own life because they feel they have PTSD. And I want to speak to you guys because, again, we all go through hardships. And I cannot imagine being abused on that level as a child. But you got to find a way to overcome every single one of them. Life is tough. It's going to throw things at you. It doesn't last forever either. No one gets out alive, guys. So I'm just saying there are a lot of gifts here in life. It may feel tough. You may be on the grind. Listen, I got stresses in my life as well. But I'm a generally pretty happy guy. And I feel pretty lucky. And I hope that a lot of you guys out there feel pretty lucky. And I hope that you wouldn't give up on your kids the way I feel like these parents gave up on this girl. And for it to be such a national media sensation, for her, again, for a reporter to be following it for a couple years, for this girl to have a book and now kind of put it out there. I still think it's a dangerous precedent. It's also a dangerous precedent that other news outlets just ran with this story without even checking with the original author. But that shows you also the state of the media today. That is the state of the media today. They're repeaters. And at the same time, a guy like me can only go off media reports sometimes. But if you watch this channel, you also know when there's documents, aka like Nexium, the Dark Overlord stuff, I'm in it. The Dancing Israelis recently, I'm all over it. Because why? That gives you a first-hand look. We're going to be doing deep dives into JFK, some more Dark Overlord stuff this week. Very busy, trying to crank out 6 to 10 videos a day. I hope that you guys are appreciating this content. You like the new thumbs. Let me know the subjects you want to hear in the thumbnails. Share this stuff. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, please subscribe. And by the way, when you ring that bell and you don't get the notifications, just star and favorite the channel, and that way you'll know when there's new videos out. Star the videos section, because we're going to pump videos out, important videos, real videos that the media is not going to tell you about. I promise you that. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you can go check out more of my stuff over at News for a Change and We Are Change. There'll be clickable links in the end screen. So thank you again, guys.